from a geologic standpoint, as a geologist, what this represents is an enormity of time, small processes working over hundreds of thousands of years.
Trails and falls, boulders and history at Hickory Run. Welcome to Pocono Mountains Podcast, everyone. This is Season 4, Episode 40. I'm your host, Jim Hamill. We are blessed to have 8 state parks in the Poconos, from Beltsville to Prompton, Promised Land to Tobyhanna, and each has its own unique beauty, amenities, and are rich with history. On Pocono Mountains Magazine, we're embarking on an 8-month journey through these state parks, starting with Hickory Run State Park. It's so diverse in its offerings, including a national natural landmark at Boulder Field, as well as Hawk Falls, Shades of Death, and a one-of-a-kind visitor center new in 2020. That incorporates all the ecosystems in the park, the history, and its connection to Lehigh Gorge State Park nearby. We talked to a geologist, park manager, and others in this first of 8 podcasts about the PA State Parks in partnership with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources in just a bit. The Poconos is a year-round destination for millions, with 2,400 square miles of lakes, forests, mountains, and rivers, as well as historic downtowns and iconic family resorts and those 8 state parks. It's a perfect getaway. You can always find out more on PoconoMountains.com or watch PTN, the Pocono Television Network, streaming live 24/7. Now, back to the episode. Hickory Run State Park has 40-plus miles of trails, an Ice Age relic spanning 6 football fields, and one of the more immersive visitor centers anywhere. Let's visit the park and meet the people who spend their lives preserving it and sharing it with the public. Enjoy. All right, now we're inside the Hickory Run State Park Visitor Center. This place is only about 5 years old, and Diane Maddles, the environmental education specialist here, she poured her heart and soul into this visitor center. You're going to give us a walk through these exhibits, but first, this quote.
Yeah, we worked hard on trying to create an experience for visitors to check out the park, figure out what to do when they come here, how to do it in a safe way, and what they can expect when they get out into the park. And to get us in that mode, we wanted to have people ask, nature asks only what we notice. So we wanted to create experiences for visitors to notice little things when they're out in the park, and to start by doing that in our exhibit hall.
All right, take me on a little tour here, Diane, because this is really impressive what you've done here at this facility. First, we want to talk about what people will see as they leave this exhibit, the fact that it's a 4-season type of place. We're here in the wintertime, but there's a lot of warmth and beauty here in the seasons, and they change, don't they?
Yes, here in the winter, we don't have quite as much visitorship as we do for sure in the summertime, when we have our campground bustling, our trails busy, our beach busy. So, it's a great destination park, and people love to spend time and make memories with their family here. So they can come all year round. In the springtime, the summer, it gets really, really busy. And now in the fall, people come for leaf peeping and, spend a lot of time in the park as well. So it's a year-round park.
And this is quite the extensive amount of exhibits you have here. I remember being here when this first opened. This takes you out into the park without actually having to go out into the park. Here we have Boulder Field.
Yeah, so a lot of our visitors might not be able to get out actually onto the boulders. You can actually drive there, but to get out there might be challenging. So we do have a little wobble board for people to kind of get a feel for what it's like if they wanted to go out and experience Boulder Field without actually doing it. And then, of course, how Boulder Field formed. And then some of the things that you might be able to see, like the small creatures and animals that are out there. And we have our beautiful books, our journal books that you can flip through and see some other information about Boulder Field before you get out there as well.
These are really intricate displays. These posters as well are supposed to get you prepared for going out into Hickory Run State Park or any of the other state parks in the Pennsylvania State Park system, preparing for adventure. And it's really about being ready for what you're going to encounter out there at places like Shades of Death Trail, which has a beauty of its own, but there's a reason that it's called Shades of Death Trail.
Yes, Shades of Death is a really dark and kind of foreboding area with big hemlock trees along a trickling stream, and it's just a beautiful place, and that we like to feature at Hickory Run State Park. Our exhibit here focuses on the decomposition of forests and how things break down and then renew with new plants. You can look again closely at some of the things that you might see along the trail. Get down and look at things very closely.
Wow, that's pretty nifty.
We have our little flip doors here that you can open and learn a little bit about some of the animals that are in the park. And as you look really closely, you'll be able to see some of the little mushroom fungus, a little bird's nest up there, all sorts of little things.
Yeah.
And the exhibits were made to have people come in different times and notice different things each time they come in.
It's a tactile place where you can get hands-on with nature surrounding you before you head out into nature. One other really cool aspect of this visitor center that it incorporates Lehigh Gorge State Park, which is a stone's throw from here, and will be featured on another one of these 8 segments on exploring state parks in the Poconos. Here's a little bit about the river and the Lehigh Gorge.
Yeah, the Lehigh Gorge is a beautiful park, 26 miles along the Lehigh River from Whitehaven to Jim Thorpe. And there's a lot of history that's hidden there that you might not know about, like these large locks. There were 29 locks and 20 dams at one time that took coal barges downriver to help it spur the Industrial Revolution, part of the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor. And that river was a way to get the trees that came from Hickory Run and the mills, to market. So there's definitely a connection between the Hickory Run area and the Lehigh River.
An amazing history here and a lot of great natural features. Let's go check out the last one before we head out into the park. Great exhibits here too about planning, getting packed up, right? Yeah.
Yep, things you should take along on your hike to be safe, things you should have with you before you go out. Things to think about in planning and preparing for adventure.
And lastly, one of the other beautiful things about the Pocono Mountains is experiencing the natural waterfalls that exist here. This state park is home to Hawk Falls, and here's another great exhibit showing you a lot of the different aspects, the predators, the trout, the various things that exist and cohabitate within this ecosystem, right?
Yeah, we definitely want to make the connection of how important we are connected to water, and water is to us. And wanted to feature Hawk Falls, one of our most popular areas in the park. And of course, it's a beautiful trout stream down there at Mud Run, and how important the hemlocks are, and to keeping the water quality really pristine. You can see Hawk Falls throughout the seasons here. For folks, again, who might not be able to get down there in the winter, they might want to see what it looks like during the different times of the year.
Diane, thank you. We're going to head out into Hickory Run State Park to see up close Hawk Falls, Shades of Death Trail, and Boulder Field. So come on along. I'm joined now with Stacy Hall. She's the park manager at Hickory Run. What a spectacular place you guys have here. This is somewhat of a homecoming for you now after being a journeyman all throughout the park system and landing back at your home park.
It's great to be back. I am thrilled after 20 years with DCNR to be managing the resource that I grew up using.
And if folks can hear that right now, we have a very picturesque waterfall just beside what a lot of people remark as being this beautiful natural setting and this chapel here. Can you tell us a little bit of the significance of what this chapel means to the greater park at Hickory Run?
Sure. So Hickory Run as a resource is very integrated with the cultural elements. There was the former town of Hickory Run in the mid-1800s, the chapel being one of the buildings that remains from that, along with the cemetery and the manor house up on the hill. So as visitors come, they get to hike on the trails. They're seeing the remnant dams from that old settlement village. So it's a nice combination of the cultural and the natural resources.
A lot of history here, a lot of natural features, including a national natural landmark, Boulder Field. So
that's correct.
High level. If you're, a bird in the sky looking down in Hickory Run, you guys have so much, a wealth here of natural beauty and that history, don't you?
We do, absolutely. We have about 44 miles of trail within the park so that you can access all the amazing locations. We have the Mud Run natural area, the eastern side of the park. That's another beautiful section to visit.
Sand Spring, you can cool off in the summertime, splash around in the lake there. You've also got Shades of Death Trail. That's a beautiful area, as Diane pointed out, covered over with hemlock trees, and really provides this escape
Absolutely.
from the outside world.
Yes, and it's great to visit year round. It's absolutely beautiful in the wintertime. Just make sure that you have ice cleats on your shoes when you go visit. But again, you're seeing those remnant dams, the Stamets Dam, the CCC Dam from when the Civilian Conservation Corps was here. So it's, yes, an absolutely beautiful trail.
And so for the folks who come here, what do you hear from them in response to their experience at Hickory Run?
So our visitors, when they come here, they love the feel of the park. It's that dark shades of depth, nothing can grow here. You're really getting immersed into nature, the sound of the water pretty much everywhere that you go. It's a nice immersive experience.
And then there's that otherworldly experience at Boulder Field, right? Really, you have to be there to understand and feel and sense what that place means over this course of 20,000 years?
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking with the geologist, it sounds like those rocks, that rock bed has been there, exposed for 600,000 years. So it goes even further back into the geological timeline and is really a unique experience for visitors to visit.
So as you look forward to spring and the inevitable, blossoming here and the return of a lot of visitors here, what is it that you want to impart to them to remember as they prepare for their visits here? You always want to make sure they're leaving no trace, but also that they're planning ahead so that when there are backups and, parking lots that are filled up, they have other plans and ways to enjoy their visit.
Absolutely. There's so much to see throughout the entire park. And not only here, but through the complex, we also manage Lehigh Gorge State Park and Nescopec State Park, which are also great resources. So if you come here during our summer season, during the month of October, we get extremely busy as well. If you can't get to one parking lot, just go to the next, switch up your activities for the day. But I really suggest visiting here in all seasons. Come here in the wintertime, come in the spring, come in the fall. It is a different experience every time in what you're seeing throughout the park.
Very cool. Stacy Hall, park manager here at Hickory Run. Aside the gorgeous historic chapel here, the original part of the settlement here. So there's history, there's nature, and so much more at Hickory Run. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So now we've made it to Hawk Falls right behind us here. And Matt Eckel, you have been down this way before. You've seen so many people come here throughout the seasons. It's beautiful in winter. It's spectacular in summer. But you want people to be mindful of all the things that they really should be doing and the things that they shouldn't be doing when they visit.
Sure. I mean, we make it easy for folks. We do have a lot of signage posted. So if folks don't read, what the rules are of a specific area of the state park, that they can still come here and know that they're, following the rules in a safe way. And that makes it easier for us to preserve, places like Hawk Falls, because we do get a lot of people. And if everybody, doesn't obey the rules, it does have a pretty serious negative impact. And then these places aren't preserved, the way they should be.
So there's no swimming, there's no picnicking in this area. You can take all the pictures you want, but don't stack rocks, leave no trace, those sort of things people want to abide by, right?
That's correct, yeah. And you can picnic in parts of our park, just not here.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, man. What do you think about just the idea we were just talking a little bit before, the journey coming in here? You get here and the waterfalls are very nice, but it's somewhat of the trail system, the big bridge that hangs over, this area that really adds a mystique to this in particular spot in Hickory Run.
It does. And one of the nicer things, I think, is that it's a shorter trail, so all ages can come out and experience. And there might be folks that haven't had to walk through a rhododendron tunnel that we had to get here. And it is a magical experience to come out of that and look to your right and see this. So it's great that it's short enough to be easily accessible for a diverse group.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we have it.
Now I'm joined by Al Giuseppe. Al is with the state geological survey. That means he knows a lot about rocks. And this is a really special part of Hickory Run State Park here. This is called Boulder Field, and we're about to reveal this expansive field of boulders. It's exactly what it is, right, Al? But you gotta wonder, when people step to this thing, how much they can't comprehend how this came to be, because this is one of the only boulder fields like it anywhere around here, isn't it?
Yeah, there's boulder fields throughout the state, but what makes this unique is just how large and expansive and uncovered. It's exposed. You see, there's no vegetation. It's just a field, like a carpet of rocks and boulders. That's what makes this unique. It's one of the more outstanding geologic features in the state.
Yeah.
And
National Natural Landmark behind us here. That's another designation that this has had for quite a few years. But can you imagine when people, back in the day when folks were really kind of like taking stock in what they had here, how they had to figure out how this came to be over the centuries and the millennia?
yeah, and that's what's really fascinating about this. From a geologic standpoint, as a geologist, what this represents is an enormity of time, small processes working over hundreds of thousands of years. So what we see is the result of, first off, a lot of people like to say, oh, it's the glaciers, right? Yeah, the furthest southern extent of glaciers during the last ice age, just about a mile from here. So not on this area, but close, which is important because it was extraordinarily cold back then.
Right.
Kind of like today.
It does feel cold,
Yeah.
maybe ice aging.
Yeah, so we're transporting back to the last ice age when it was really cold here, and the bedrock was really cold, and when water would seep down through cracks in the rock, when the water would freeze, it would cause a wedge. It's called frost wedging. And that would break apart the very solid, very hard rock that we see here. And this would happen year after year of just making that wedge a little larger until finally things start breaking apart. And this continues for, like we said, thousands and thousands of years. And we've done some cosmogenic dating on this rock and found that it has been exposed like this for 600,000 years. So what you're looking at when you stand here is this is a glimpse into the past. This is what things would have looked like during several ice age, several glacial advances. So from that, it ends up being a window into the past. And now, talking about how geology is, it's this study of time and like of pressure and time, of very small processes having large effects on landscapes. So not only do we have the frost wedging that's breaking the rock into these boulders, but then there's also another phenomena called frost heaving, where during the summer months, the groundwater, the shallow groundwater table would melt and then refreeze during the winter. And so what would happen is, again, it's all down to the mechanics of water. When it freezes, takes up more volume.
Sure.
So we take this liquid water, we freeze it, and the whole field lifts up imperceptibly, but it all moves. So what's happening then is these rock pieces are grinding against each other as it's moving and breaking into smaller pieces and rounding. You see, they all have like rounded edges. That's because the sharp bits have been ground down through this heaving process. There's also the interface at the frozen layer and what's melting because of these summer months creates let's call it like a conveyor belt or a slippery of mud and water, and these things can move. So these rocks that we see haven't been transported very far, but they have been transported by, again, this very slow process of as things melt, they relax, and as they freeze, it heaves up. And so there's this constant grinding that's been going on and still going on to a much lesser extent. Now, despite what it feels like today, it's not ice age cold.
Sure.
Still there is freezing going on, and so this process is always occurring.
So it's the study of time that we're looking at, but it's also adventuresome, right? Like there's a lot of ways in which there's no direct way to get across this field or to get out into the middle of it. It's like pick your path, choose your adventure, and that's also a unique thing that you're traversing through history, something that nature has placed there over time through those heaves and through those thaws.
Yeah, and we highly recommend you get out into the middle, and that's when the truly large aspect of it, how expansive it is, really comes in, and you really feel it because you're just in the middle of this gigantic boulder field. Another thing that's remarkable about this is notice how flat it is. There are many boulder fields in Pennsylvania, and some pretty impressive, but they're usually on slopes. And it's the fact that this one's so flat, it gives it an eerie, almost like unnatural look. Like this shouldn't be. What's going on here?
Extraterrestrial in some ways. I can remember coming here with my family for the first time, and just my son and me probably having the same kind of childlike wonder about this place, just because it didn't feel like something that I'd seen anywhere else on the landscape. And having grown up here in northeastern Pennsylvania in the Poconos, this thing is a gem. Such a beautiful space too, to experience geology, to experience the passage of time with friends, with family, and other park goers, right?
Yeah.
Al, thank you for your expertise, my friend. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. Hickory Run State Park. You can head to PoconoMountains.com to learn more. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. We'll have a new episode each week, highlighting lots of the fun things you can experience while you're visiting the Poconos. Subscribe and leave a review and/or comment on whatever platform you listen.
Celebrate our great restaurant scene and our chefs that make it happen during Restaurant Week.
Enjoy.
The Pocono Mountains is the best when it comes to creative food and beverage. Why not try something new? Or sample our international flavors and mountain favorites. These are the most delicious weeks of the year. You just have to know when it is. Visit PoconoMountains.com.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. I'm Jim Hamill. Now for a Pocono Mountains Podcast Extra. Back in 2020, Hickory Run's Visitor Center opened to the public for the first time. And I was there. Let's listen back to that story. Enjoy. The fireplace at the brand new Hickory Run State Park Visitor Center and office is warm and welcoming, and the facility, both inside and out, a new direction for this part of the Pocono Mountains and its state parks.
Everything you see here has the capacity to transform someone's understanding and visitation to something much deeper. Someone who may come in for a picnic or a walk could leave understanding watersheds or understanding conservation or a new appreciation for wildlife, new understanding of their connection to nature.
And nature is something intertwined with this facility, surrounded by rain gardens and built to be energy efficient, environmentally friendly, and for all who come through these doors, educational.
The new facility is behind us. It definitely gives us a lot more ability to reach the visiting public and welcome them in the way that really a park like this and a complex like this, because this isn't just Hickory Run, it's Hickory Run, Lehigh Gorge, and Nescopec State Parks. It gives us the ability to welcome that public and let them know what we have to offer for them.
Officials cut the ribbon on the facility in mid-October, eager to share these informative exhibits with the many visitors as something of a starting point for their experiences in the park and in nearby Lehigh Gorge State Park.
This is bigger and better.
Edward Fatorsky has been a campground host at Hickory Run State Park for more than a decade and now gets to welcome guests at this new center.
I think it's very educational for them to come and see this stuff, because a lot of people have no idea. You know, if you live in a city and you've never been in the woods, they have no idea what goes on. And this is a good learning process, I think, yes.
Hickory Run State Park has plenty to offer. 40 miles of trails, waterfalls, and the expansive boulder field, a natural phenomenon and a major draw for visitors year after year. And in a year that has seen record crowds at state and national parks, including this park in Carbon County, state forestry officials are thankful to have this new tool to help in their mission.
We're happy to have them come out and experience all we have to offer.
Hickory Run State Park Visitor Center and Office. Listen and watch in April when we explore our next state park in the series, Toby Hanna State Park. We hope you enjoyed Pocono Mountains Podcast. Please remember to subscribe anywhere podcasts are available. Come visit us in the Pocono Mountains. Plan your trip today.